All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Coding Temple's Agile Leaders, where we help you develop the skills and strategies to increase velocity and innovation in growing technical organizations. I'm your host, Evan Shai, and today we are joined by Ryan Taylor, our Chief Enterprise Product Officer at Coding Temple, who brings with him decades of product leadership experience in EdTech and Chief Product Officer at Sales Academy, VP of product at Udemy and CorpU before that. Ryan is easily one of the most thoughtful and passionate people I know when it comes to skill development, learning and development, growth within organizations. So thank you so much for being with us, Ryan.
Oh, my pleasure. And hey, thanks for having me at Coding Temple. So it's a real pleasure. I feel grateful to be here.
It feels like we've been on this journey for quite some time, but maybe to start things off, for those in our audience that aren't familiar with your journey, maybe you can just share a little bit about your journey here and what inspired you to join the team at Coding.
Absolutely. And at my core, I guess I began my journey as a tech, early career junior tech professional, joining an early software development team building one of the early learning management systems. So I have an affinity for tech professionals at my core, and I just so happened to spend over 20 years in EdTech. Then got and grew into product leadership roles and built one of the early cohort learning platforms out here in Philadelphia. At that time, I was focused on cohort-based learning. It was one of the early approaches to how do we get people together in interactive and engaging online environments? How do we deliver something that's both synchronous and asynchronous and get it to be better than a live face-to-face, which is everybody wants that, but that's what we were striving towards. And here I am at Coding Temple, and it's the opportunity of bringing all of that thinking with me in terms of how do we deliver successful learning experiences at CorpU, at Udemy, at other places that I have spent time building these types of systems. And how do we do that here at Coding Temple, but laser focused on tech professionals? How do we laser focus the upskilling that we can do within the enterprise and involve leadership to help craft that journey for tech teams? And I just think now's the time to do it. I couldn't be more excited to jump in and help contribute to that.
EdTech can be such a broad category, and there's so many different business models that are contained within there, and it can range from consumer-facing products and experiences to B2B. What do you think is driven your passion for transforming how organizations approach learning and skill development?
I've certainly found where my deep passion lies over 20 years, from building, at the time, very meaningful learning management systems. But over time, I've learned that's not where I feel like the greatest impact is, just providing access to learning in a catalog, right? Or building out catalog systems, right? Where anybody can access any type of learning within the enterprise. My hit all the right chords was when I was working at CorpU, and we really started to get into cohort-based learning and really believing that if we bring people together in purpose-built groups to learn and grow together, anchor that into the strategy of the business, like it feels like our probability of being more successful goes through the roof versus just opening a catalog to our employees, right? So if somebody's going to spend $1 with us, I hope it's the most impactful dollar that they spend. That's where they're going to deeply learn something, learn it with their team, and it's going to have huge impact on their organization. So it's when I had an opportunity to get into cohort-based learning environments and inside of those products, which is where I felt like now I'm tapping into my life work. I'm tapping into my real passion, and I simply want to build learning experiences for the enterprises that goes way beyond individualized learning, and how can we all learn and grow together so that we can go further as an organization.
It makes all the sense in the world. There's been such an evolution in this market over the past several decades, and certain kind of peaks of excitement and enthusiasm with various innovations. I think for a while it was online education, and then wow, the amount of content and curriculum we can make available to not just a few people, but people at scale, generated a lot of, again, excitement and interest in the space and what was possible. I think what we've now seen is the learning outcomes don't always necessarily scale with the tools that we try to scale across the organization. And there is this kind of opportunity, I think, that both of us see in terms of how do we, create learning experiences that can be accessible to all of the necessary people, but how do we ensure that we don't sacrifice outcomes in the process of doing that, especially with the rapid advancements we're seeing in technology, particularly driven by AI. How are you thinking about the products that we're taking to market, particularly our Skill Accelerator product, in order to help both individuals as well as the organization navigate and stay ahead of this rapidly changing and dynamic landscape?
Absolutely. I think there's three opportunities for us, and the opportunity I see for us, which is we have a wildly successful consumer product. So we're teaching things in a really great cohort-based way. Our outcomes there are amazing. On the enterprise side, how do I know that if I'm going to buy something from Coding Temple, it's really going to solve the pressing need that we have, or the needle that we're looking to move within the organization? So I look at it as, let's go build an amazing diagnostic system. Let's go and build a tool. And I think the technology now exists where we don't have to do it through boring surveys and over survey our people. Let's sense the data that we currently have. What's all the prior learning that we did? What are all the prior initiatives that we did? What was the success rate of that? Let's go sense that data and start to identify where are we strong, or where do we have opportunities to learn and grow as a team and as an organization. That'll create our learning journey, both as a team as well as a broader organization, to go and tackle that one problem. And then once you tackle that, now that we're tied into the business, now that we're tied into the strategy, we know where you want to go. Let's start them the learning impact in much better ways in terms of how many people are accessing the learning that I'm providing, how many minutes of video or hours of video are being watched, how many people are completing those courses that we're offering. Quite frankly, I don't necessarily care about those measures. Yes, they're important to know that people are showing up, but I would love to go way beyond that and start tapping into talent metrics. So when people go through Coding Temple programs, they're becoming more productive. Their confidence is going through the roof. They're bragging about it to their friends and families, or saying that they never want to leave because their organization is deeply caring about how they're anchoring their learning into the business and helping them learn and grow. And then let's get into the business metrics, really improving productivity. Is it growing revenue, right? Is it making you more, let's tap into those impact measurements to show the true value of what we're doing. And I think that's the opportunity with all the tech that we have today that affords us the opportunity to answer those questions, which I feel like in the EdTech world, we just haven't been making that leap or going that far. I think that's our opportunity. That's what gets me excited.
Excited too. You're hearing from other leaders across industries, as well as just your own experience as a product and technology leader. What are the challenges that people are dealing with at the moment?
Yeah, I'll say the challenge varies based on small, medium to large organizations, but the CTOs or the CIOs that I have been talking with, if I'm going to spend one more dollar on education, like, you have to be able to tell me what's the one thing that's going to have the greatest impact. There's a lot of push for acquiring endless skills, and there's certainly a lot of that noise in the market in terms of, let us teach the thousands and thousands of skills, or at least map out the thousands of skills that can be acquired within the organization. That's an opportunity for us to eliminate that noise. How do we know what skills you truly need to develop as a team and as an organization if we don't properly diagnose you first, right? I feel like we're committing malpractice by saying, yeah, buy this, when we didn't even ask the question, well, what are you trying to do? Where are you trying to go? So that's the opportunity for us, is to have much clearer prescription.
Helpful. And when you think about prescription, I guess there's naturally two levels to that, right? There's a diagnostic that has to happen at the individual level, but also at the organizational level, right? And maybe even starting there from an organizational perspective, where are, not only just the skill gaps generally in a vacuum, because an organization doesn't exist in a vacuum, but where are the skill gaps relative to the strategy that's trying to be, executed against? And then where are individuals in terms of their overall skill makeup or anatomy, and what needs to happen ultimately to bridge that gap? Is that how you're thinking about it in those two levels?
Yeah, and you explained it perfectly. Let's build tech that we can deploy within the organization and give it let's create a beautiful x-ray of the organization, right? Both at an individual level, but also at an organizational level, right? I think that's an awesome opportunity for us to do that, either through some light assessing, but I think with the tech that we have today, we can easily do that, or more easily do that, and learn what those gaps are quicker and faster versus over surveying our organization. And I think we need to split that out in terms of, well, where does the organization want to go, and start to sense out what are the gaps that are preventing us from getting there. What are the gaps within our teams and our individual employees that may prevent us from getting there? And how can we pull them along and get them on a plan? Let's create the GPS of learning and give the very precise directions in terms of, let's first do this, then let's do this, then let's do the third thing, and clearly carve out that journey. Provide a vision of the future of, in the incentive, if we just continue on, it's like climbing the mountain, right? If we just get to this next level, right, we'll eventually achieve it, and we'll all be doing better individually, we'll be doing better as a team, and we'll be performing and more competitive as an organization. And I feel like I'm probably oversimplifying it, but it's what a lot of tools focus on, providing the largest catalog, and let's just deploy that within the organization. That's a lot of noise, right? How do you take the thousands of things that you're offering and just get that to the one thing with the one plan and the one outcome that you're looking to measure? I think us eliminating that type of noise is value that I hear CTOs and CIOs want. Eliminate all the noise. I know there's hundreds or thousands of options for me to choose from. Just give me the answer, right? So I would love to build that system.
I absolutely love that, especially with the new skills that all of us are staring at. We're all experiencing a skills gap one way or another, either currently or it's fast approaching. And I think generally, both historically as well as looking forward, there are two things we can do about it. We can hire new people, or we can train the ones that we have. And hiring new people, I think, is going to be increasingly a challenge, particularly because these are new skills where it's not like there are droves of people who already have this experience and training in these skills. So I think to some degree, we're going to have to engage in solutions that allow us to train the people that we have. And we've all experienced and have subscriptions to these kind of content libraries that can ultimately scale across the enterprise. But again, we know that learning outcomes don't necessarily scale with it. So it's how ultimately can we provide more precise diagnostics of what the skills are that are required for the individual in the organization, and how can we then deliver a learning experience that truly results in job-ready skills, right? Not just people dabbling in certain skills, but being able to use those skills in the wild.
Absolutely. I think that's where the first question one must ask themselves is, what are we trying to do? Where are we trying to go? So let's just start with a very basic question. Let's just ask the organization, or let the organization tell the system, this is where we're trying to go. With all of the context, or as much context that they provide a system like ours, we can start to create, I feel, a very personalized plan of how to begin and how to move forward. A lot of it today is you have to search out, or somebody else has to help you, or drop a consultant in to go and figure it out. Or you go through and manually create your learning paths in various systems and say, oh, I want a little bit of AI, I want a little bit of data science, I want a little bit of this. But I think what's missing in all of these systems is the broader business context. Who is capturing the business context in order to create the plan? Because now everything you do, every dollar of learning that you're spending on is directly tied to the context of the business and in context of your strategy. Isn't that why somebody would want to purchase an outside vendor? Isn't that why somebody would want to bring somebody in, so that you can create a continuous learning environment, a virtuous learning organization? And if you start creating that system, now you're beginning to future-proof your organization, where shouldn't the goal be that you never have to go outside the organization to hire, because you have such an amazing learning culture and a learning system where people are free and open to dare and try new things and learn things together and share what's working, what's not working, and you collectively become better together. I feel like that's the goal with learning solutions versus I'll give you I'll give you these little pills to solve the quick problem and not address the root of the problem within the organization. At least that's how I view the world.
Well, we certainly share that worldview as much as I'm for red teaming productively whenever we can. But I totally agree. We experience it ourselves. Of course, we provide subscriptions to content libraries and generally make everyone feel pretty good. And occasionally we'll level someone up in a specific skill or workflow. But when it comes to truly needing to increase real organizational capability, that's going to require a group of people working together to develop the right skills, right, for them individually in the organization, and ensure that development process is aligned with our strategy to ensure that we are leveraging these existing and new skills in a way that creates value within the unique context of our organization. And to me, that's where there's a real opportunity here. The reality is that so many of us share the ideal of creating a continuous learning culture within our organizations. And despite that intention or desire have fallen short for a variety of reasons, maybe shortcomings of existing tools out there, but also cultural norms within our organizations. Are there particularly notable challenges that you've seen consistently across organizations, and maybe any best practices that you've seen in terms of dealing with or overcoming those challenges?
Yeah, awesome question. I think there's quite a few, but I think the ones that I've seen more often than not is, as humans, we're wired for fight or flight. We're wired for the fast, easy thing. And I think the first barrier is just realizing learning is never really meant to be an instant. It could be something that we have to be slow and thoughtful and deliberate with our approach. We need to take the time to learn and reflect and iterate the things that we're trying to do. So I think the first one is always thinking, why do people go outside and hire? Because it feels like it's faster. It's faster to go and buy the skill versus then acquire the skill. But I also think that there's an inherent problem that people are always sweating. There's people that sweat the climate change. And it's the same pattern, which is, well, today it's stormy, so I'm going to go outside the organization and hire somebody. And that'll be a temporary win versus we really need to think about how we want to grow the organization and create a learning culture so that we never have climate change. We future-proof our business so that we have it and we're an amazing organization that can grow rare talent and rare skills. I know that's easier said than done, right? But I feel like as humans, we're always wired for the quick fix. We see it on infomercials every day of our life saying, if you want to be well, if you want to lose weight, if you want to be healthier, just pop a pill. And it's easier and faster than going to the gym and working out every single day. So I think that's problem number one. How do you start to break that down and start to create a safe learning environment? So safety is another one where people, yes, I believe in group-based learning. I believe humans learning together. But it's also important that environment feels safe and free and open for people to want to dare to ask challenging questions. It might challenge the status quo. It might challenge leadership to look in the mirror. But don't you want to get to the source of truth? Don't you want to work towards an environment where everybody feels free to ask tough questions, right? To learn challenging things. So I think there's many things, but those are the first two that come to mind. And is that addressing a weather pattern or is that addressing a climate change problem? Because there could be a reason why you have to do that. And then the other one is, what are we doing as leaders to being involved in the development of my team and of my people and providing and teaching and coaching the business context of where we're trying to go. We all want people to have deep domain expertise of what we do and why we do it. Are we involved enough in that learning experience? Are we providing the context? Are we going deep enough with our teams and inspiring them to be the next future leader? Right. So that I think there's many things to start.
It's one thing to articulate or even have the belief as a leader of the importance of assembling and developing the best possible team with respect to the strategy you're trying to execute. But it's important to reflect on the actions and investments that you're making in your people to see if there's consistency between that belief and how we're actually following through. I think it's intuitive to see how we got in this pattern of these kind of short-term reactive or kind of fast fixes, if you will, aside from the kind of evolutionary aspects of just how we're wired as humans, but also this whether it's public companies optimizing for quarterly results and having to do earnings calls, et cetera, and appease a market who is filled with humans with a similar type of behavior, even to private companies, whether you have a board or venture capital and you're getting in these fundraising rounds. So it's clear to see how we got there, but you also always look at the leaders that you admire and who are able to truly achieve exceptional outlier type of returns are the ones who are able to rise above that and make the necessary investments now, the hard decisions now, in order to skate where the puck is going, if you will. I think so there's an appreciation for that as well. I think to your point of being able to check yourself, recognize the importance and priorities of certain things and be able to act accordingly there. I think also, though, there has been this idea that learning inherently slows down execution, right? That if I want people to learn a different skill, they need to pause everything that we were doing, whether related to that skill or just things that person had on their roadmap, in order to go learn and then come back, and then hopefully we can start executing again. Is this an opportunity to leverage learning as an accelerant to execution rather than slowing it down?
Absolutely. I think you as a CEO, I'm sure there's a lot of things in your backlog that you wish, man, I've always wanted to build this, or we always wanted to build this, and it just got deprioritized for whatever reason. And I think to solve the problem that you stated and to answer the question is, if we use learning as a strategic tool in order to move faster and go further together, and just anchoring into your strategy the learning component, I think you'll be able to see people execute faster and create an organization of executors, right? So I've often think of what we're trying to build as, let's build the world's first execution platform. How will we do that? Before we do anything, we're going to anchor. Let's say if we want to build a new chatbot, why do we want to build a chatbot? But if you can create the context for me and my tech team as to why we need to do that, I'm pretty sure in a day you can set the context. We can now go off and learn and observe an expert and watch them build this, right? So we learn through practice, and then we go off and start to build it ourselves. Maybe you want to observe and have some checkpoints along the way and provide some guidance, some guardrails, and then come to an opportunity to actually demo it to you in leadership. If we can weave it into the actual strategy, we can probably start to make movements and execute in days and start seeing progress versus months or many years where things just fall off the radar. So my whole point in strategy is tie learning, make learning a part of your strategy, put it at the heart of it, and do the thing that you're trying to do, anchored the skill that you need to learn in order to drive that forward.
Okay, so super fascinating, but seeing just a really exciting opportunity. So just want to articulate this in what I'm hearing. So there's an opportunity for an organization who has particular products in the backlog, if you will, that have maybe been perpetually in the backlog because there have been skill gaps in the organization. This represents an opportunity for your team and organization to come in, work with me, the CEO, and the appropriate technology team to, one, establish the strategic context to determine what are those things we want to build, why do we want to build them, what ultimately are the objectives, and then teach my team the skills required to execute on that while executing, developing, and shipping that product. So there's a real opportunity for learning and execution to be one and the same, ultimately allowing us to accelerate our roadmap and not pause it. Is that a fair articulation?
That's perfect. And that really starts to describe.
Can you share with us a little bit more about what this product and service looks like and how people might be able to get involved?
Absolutely. So the opportunity I see is we have an amazing consumer product. We have an awesome pedagogy where people are learning through practice. They're learning with peers. They're learning from an expert. We have a really awesome design that's working really well. We have all of the stats to reinforce that, obviously. I'd love to package that up and now laser focus it on the enterprise, challenges. So I think what we need to build here is the bookends to that solution, which is awesome. We know what's working. We know what's working well with our consumer product. Now let's zoom out a little bit and let's laser focus on how to properly diagnose the organization and ensure that when somebody is learning a skill from Coding Temple, it's absolutely in context of the business. And then let's prove the impact. Let's tap into the talent and business metrics, and let's prove that we truly are moving the needle, right? So that's the opportunity that I see ahead for us. That's going to feel different than anything else on the face of the planet. And let's go and sweat and go a mile deep on the 5 career pathways that we have across software development, data, AI, and other pathways that we have. And let's just laser focus that for the enterprise. And so what I want to do is get the free trial out fast and soon so that everybody else can experience the same thing that I am, right? So then in the next day, let's go and build it ourselves in context of the business, because you and other leaders are joining us and providing that business context. And then on day 3, let's demo and share the work. And then let's start to think about how we can apply it to our business. Again, at the end of the day, now we're moving and executing faster, and we're putting learning at the core of our business strategy. And that's what I want to do. And so eager to get the free trial out for people to experience this.
I love it. This is something we're doing internally and putting our own money into it because we see that the value that this can unlock. Obviously, been a big believer and investor in professional development, but particularly the value that it could unlock for the organization and us executing our strategy better and faster. And it's just so clear to me how this model will enable us to not only upskill our existing employees, but allow us to achieve more faster together. So it's something I'm very excited about experiencing again firsthand, and our team members to be able to continue to experience it and leverage. And I am particularly excited about other organizations and other leaders being able to see firsthand the value that we've been able to see from it. Ryan, thank you so much for making time for us today and being a part of this journey and being the visionary leader that you are. I am excited for the times ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity. Super grateful to be here.